Hello, everyone. Welcome to JETRO Invest Japan webinar series. My name is Miku Utsukawa from JETRO Invest Japan department, and I will be your host for today. Today is our first edition of the webinar series, and the topic is AI industry in Japan before, with, after COVID-19, with briefing on COVID-19 and economy of Japan. We are very excited to welcome two speakers today that will explain the situation in Japan. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and we will send the link afterwards. Right now, we have more than 120 attendees. Thank you very, very much for all to attend this webinar today. You could ask questions at any point during the webinar using the Zoom QA button on the screen down below. We are going to have a QA session after each speaker's presentation. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Yuta Nagasaki to talk about COVID-19 and economy of Japan. Mr. Nagasaki is a researcher of Invest Japan department at JETRO. His research focuses on inward foreign direct investment in Japan and covers a wide range of related topics, including the business environment, as well as business operations of foreign affiliated companies in the country. So Yuta, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Miku, for your kind introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Yuta Nagasaki, and I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Let me share my screen real quick. Hope is seeing the screen. If you're having trouble, technical issues during my presentation, you can just chat us or in a Q&A, put comments in the Q&A session. I'll answer your Q&As after my presentation. So today, I'm going to be talking about COVID-19 and its impact on the economy of Japan. My presentation is going to be about 15 minutes. And in case you don't see me or I'm really small in your screen, this is how I look like. So today, I'm going to be talking about two topics. The first, impact of COVID-19. We'll talk about government responses, and I'll use recent statistics of Japanese economy to see how the economy is doing right now. And also, the second half of my presentation is going to be way forward. So how this pandemic changed Japan and how Japan is going to change afterward. So COVID-19, we all know that this virus hit the world January this year and quickly spread around the world, including Japan. This graph shows the confirmed new cases of COVID-19 in this country. And the first case of COVID-19 was observed in mid-January this year in Japan. But starting from the end of March towards mid-April, we saw the spike of, we saw the increase of new cases of COVID-19 in Japan. And in fact, on April 12th, we saw 734 new cases a day. So this was the peak. Starting from the end of April towards May, we saw a decline of new cases a day. And the most recent data, which is coming from 25th of May, which is 2 days ago in Japan, the number of new cases observed in the day was 31. So Japan seems to have successfully contained the first wave of COVID-19. And here's another question for you to think about the future of Japan's economy. Are we going back to the same old Japan before the pandemic? And as you can imagine, the answer is no. One change that I can assure you that has been happening and that will happen after this pandemic, digital transformation. Yes, this is not a new concept anymore, not even Japan. There are a lot of discussions even before this pandemic, but this pandemic changed one thing, one big thing. That was this pandemic forced the government to make changes on this digital transformation. And that was the first huge step for Japan. One example, how people work. So before this pandemic, people came to office daily basis. People had meetings, face-to-face meetings with colleagues and clients and consumers. In order to do so, a lot of people took public transportations. And if you have been in Japan, for morning rush hours, you know Raito is not a station. This was a typical day of Japanese workday. But this cannot be happening anymore. We cannot have a lot of people in a tiny place. So instead, the Japanese government and the business associations urge companies to ask their employees to work from home, do teleworking. And this actually worked. According to one survey, more than 50% of the people who experienced staying home and work from home answered that they want to keep doing so from time to time, even after the pandemic. So people's mind has been changed. And in order to make remote working and working from home more efficiently, companies are trying to digitize their business operations, not only their business services and business products, but they try to digitize their business operation. And people are looking at AI industry. That's why we have AI expert in Japan for the next session, for next presentation. So this pandemic made the government change as well. One change, telemedicine. On April 10th, Ministry of Health announced that telemedicine is now temporarily allowed from the first treatment. So before this pandemic, there were a lot of conditions to do telemedicine in Japan. But this temporary announcement from Ministry of Health allowed telemedicine to be able to conduct from the first treatment. And this has been a huge to relieve the pain for the patients and hospitals. Ministry of Health saying that this is a temporary, and they're going to review this announcement 3 months after the announcement. But this was a huge change in the industry of health in Japan. So to make this remote working and telemedicine, for example, work, business associations urge the government to digitize administrative procedures. So before this pandemic, there were a lot of paperwork. We used a lot of stamps to legitimize official documents for the government. But this is inefficient. This cannot be happening in the world of digitized work style. So business associations ask the government to make and digitize business contracts and other official documents, or make the identity verification digitized for social benefits, insurances, and taxes. There's a committee under government discussing about this issue. So we'll see how the change goes. Another important aspect, infrastructure for digital transformation. So we know that there are some countries in the world that already starting 5G, and Japan is one of them. Japan actually introduced tax benefits to encourage people and companies to introduce 5G networks. There's also a committee under government already start talking about 6G, next generation network. So with this advanced infrastructure and with the change that happened because of the pandemic, we'll see Japan is going to transform itself digitally. It was a rather quick overview of the Japan, but in conclusion, I have 3 points. 1, Japan lifted the state of emergency, and companies are coming back to increase business activities with some precautions, of course, to prevent a second wave of the pandemic. Second point, Japan has shown its high resiliency against the pandemic and economic shock. So we'll see how Japan's economy comes back. Last but not least, impact of the COVID-19 and the pandemic has been and will be an engine for digital transformation in Japan. And I have a last question for you. Who will be the driver? Who will drive this digital transformation in Japan? Japanese companies are key players. Japanese government is going to be an important player. But that's not it. We know that new technologies are out there. We know that new services are out there outside of Japan. And that is the reason why Japan is now welcoming all the foreign companies with new services and new technologies. And that's where JETRO comes in. We JETRO support all kinds of foreign companies for every single step you have to take. Information gathering, we're going to give you market reports. We're going to give you economic statistics information like I'm doing right now. We're going to be there for you when you plan and strategize your Japanese operation. We're going to be there for you when you actually establishing here our business in Japan. And last but not least, we're going to be there for your business expansion. We're going to make a business matching with Japanese companies and local companies here, not only in Tokyo, but around the country, because we have extensive networks in domestic branches. So maybe not today, or maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in a week that you are coming here in Japan, but it's never too early to re-strategize your company operations and think about Japanese operations for your business resilience. So thank you for your attention today. I hope this session was informative for you, and I hope all of you staying well and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yusa, for all the information packed in such a short time. So let us move to the Q&A session. Please remember that you can ask any questions that you would like using the Zoom Q&A button down the screen.